so Ryan Day was dragged through the mud. Not fair. Now everyone's writing, oh, it's not fair. It's all blah, 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 blah. After the loss to the Wolverines back in the end of 2024. And so now he's got the receipts and he can walk around like a peacock, and clearly the storyline has changed. So let us discuss the question. Let's get right to the meat of the matter. Does Ohio State coach Ryan Day deserve to go on an apology tour and get a bunch of I'm sorry from the various critics? Does Ohio State coach Ryan Day deserve an apology from the people that were critical of his coaching? So I've got Stables, Animaniacs, and Whistle Stop. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to carve out of a mountain. We're going to carve something out of a mountain. So first of all, I'm shaking my head. No, I'm shaking my head. No, Ryan Day does not deserve an apology. Ohio State, he deserved to be roasted. Okay, so he didn't deserve an apology. At the time that took place, that was accurate criticism of Ryan Day. And that's how it works. You went out, you bought your team, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. I like the Dodgers. They buy their team. I'm happy with that. But when the Dodgers don't win, they get ripped. Ohio State went out and tried to pay for a championship, and it looked like it wasn't going to work out. They spent over $20 million, which for now is a lot of money. In a few years, it'll be $100 million. But they were favored by 20.5 points at one moment in time against the Michigan football team. So they were almost 3-touchdown favorites. They were at home, and they gagged. They suffocated. They choked. The Buckeyes choked. The moment was too big. They couldn't handle it. Michigan had been so blah, but yet Michigan in that game kept Ohio State's offense in check, the rivalry game. And if you look at the last few years, I know that was Jim Harbaugh, but Michigan has dominated Ohio State in recent years. And that's the game that matters more than every other game for the Buckeyes. We all know that, even if you're not from Ohio or you're not from Michigan, you know that. So Ryan Day had been goofed on, but that goes with the real estate. See, that goes with the territory. You buy the land, you get that on the land. That's part of the land. And he's well compensated for his troubles. He makes over $10 million a year, just got a $1 million bonus. So with that $1 million bonus, I assume that Ryan Day can afford to go down to the stables. Probably has a big ranch, big plantation there. Go down to your stables, and why don't you get one of those mini therapy horses and help manage your anxiety if this is really an issue. You're expected to win titles at Ohio State. You hadn't won a title at Ohio State as the coach, and so you don't need an apology if you're Ryan Day because you were held accountable. That's the yin and the yang, right? The give and the take, and that's how it works, and you might not like that, but that's the way it works. And now the other storyline about Ohio State is, should Ryan Day leave the Buckeyes because of the way the fans were toxic towards him and his family, leave Ohio State behind for the NFL. So this is one of those Cinderella stories, run off and go to the big dance in the NFL. But at this point, there is no indication that anyone from the NFL wants Ryan Day. Now, I might be wrong on this. I don't know. I just do the overnight show. Maybe somebody will pop up later today and say, we want Ryan Day. But at this point, bupkis, right? So it does take two to tango. I don't think you can just give yourself a job. I don't think Ryan Day can get on the phone and call up the Jacksonville football team and say, hey, I'd like to coach the Jags. Can I do that? I don't think that's how that works. So, yeah, it's a nice thought to say he's going to run off and become a head coach in the NFL. And he's been a coach working his way up and then becoming a head coach for 25 years. Out of those 25 years of coaching, he spent exactly 2 years as a positional coach, not a coordinator, positional coach in the NFL. And outside of, you look around like Pete Carroll, Jimmy Johnson, most college coaches, it has not worked out. Now, each situation is unique. Urban Meyer, he had a very good time with the young ladies there at the bar, but on the field didn't work out so well for Urban. Now, secondly, we go to the wisdom of a voice of college football, Joel Klatt. The Fox Sports commentator, Joel Klatt there, got on his soapbox. He was not happy. not pleased with the end of the college football season. He went on a rant. He said, this is supposed to be the pinnacle of our sport, meaning the championship game, the destination for every player, coach, fan. Klatt, on his soapbox, ranted. Yet somebody decided that playing the national championship on a Monday night deep into the NFL playoffs was a good idea. Klatt grumbled, the mismanagement of college football has been egregious. Close quote. All right, so Fox Sports college football pundit Joel Klatt, not even really implying, I think he just laid it all out for you, that college football made a terrible mistake by playing the national title game in essentially late January, and the NFL playoffs are going on. Are you going to vote down, or are you going to vote up on this? You're going to vote up, or are you going to vote down on Joel Klatt saying that this was a terrible mistake by the gods of college football? So I'm going to downvote this take. I disagree with Joel Klatt. Times are a-changing. And Klatt knows exactly who's responsible for this change. It's not exactly like it's a secret. This is not some kind of classified document. It's not. This is not a national security issue here. He said, somebody decided to play the national championship game on a Monday, blah, blah, blah. Well, we know who that is. 2 letters on the Wheel of Fortune. Can I get a T and a V? Yes, TV. They're the ones that are omnipresent. They're the ones that are the sugar daddy of college sports. They're the ones calling shots. So it's not mismanagement. It is a cost-benefit analysis. It's kind of obvious. They're the ones that pay the check. They buy the games and all that, TV, ESPN, ABC. Everything's bigger in 2025. College football, it's the new world order of college football. And it's much like Animaniacs, the people that put the TV together and college football. They get together, all right? And they're like Pinky and the Brain. And it's like Pinky saying, gee, Brain, what are we going to do tonight? And Brain responds, well, the same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world. It's scientific. The people in charge who they try to figure out how many people can we get to watch, the biggest audience we can get to watch. They crunch the numbers, they put a Venn diagram together, and they determine what is the optimal time, the date and time to play these games. Get the biggest bang for their buck, right? That's how they do it. Can't compete with the NFL playoffs head-to-head. Otherwise, I mean, if you could compete, you would play on the weekend. You can't do that, so you got to play on a Monday night or a Thursday or whatever, or Friday. So you schedule around those games. The NCAA players actually benefits, trickle-down economics, because more exposure means higher ratings, which means more money for advertisers, which means more money will filter down to the players via NIL deals because the sponsors will want to be associated with the players, and more money in the free agency of college football. There'll be a quiz on this later. It's not that hard. All right, final thought. So we go now to Michael Vick. He's a head coach now. Michael Vick, he was introduced recently as the head coach at Norfolk State. That's a school you've never heard of in Virginia. Michael Vick says his goal with Norfolk State coaching football there is to eventually get a Power 5 job, at a job at a Power 5 school. So how does this play out? All right. So the obvious thing here is you follow the yellow brick road of Deion Sanders. The only reason Michael Vick has a job is because of Deion Sanders. If Deion Sanders had fallen on his face and there had been no buzz with Deion Sanders, Michael Vick would not be coaching Norfolk State. He wouldn't, right? This is a whistle-stop tour for Michael Vick. And he's got the whistle in his mouth. He's got an opportunity, make something out of nothing. It was the great P.T. Barnum, the man that pointed out the importance of the Novelty Act, and without promotion for said Novelty Act, something terrible happens. If you don't have promotion, nothing. So whether Michael Vick wins or not is secondary. Deion Sanders had some success at Jackson State, but he wasn't God's gift to coaching at Jackson State, but he built up a lot of good karma. Right? That was the most important thing. And so he then ran off to Colorado and got that job. Michael Vick, by coaching standards, is getting paid peanuts. He's got a 4-year contract to coach football at a school with really no budget and $400,000 annually, the base salary at Norfolk State, which is kind of like working at your first job at the car wash or as a lifeguard during the summer. It's a good starter job. Get your feet wet a little bit, see where it goes. And Michael Vick is dating himself because there is no more Power 5. I don't know if you heard about this, but the Pac-12 was swallowed up. It was eaten by the other conferences. So there is no more Power 5. The Pac-12 is dead. There's no more Pac-12. So, and really, there's really the Power 2. It doesn't sound as good to say the Power 2. Sounds cool to say the Power 5 or Power 4, but it's really the Power 2. It's the Big Ten, the reigning champions of college football from Ohio State, and it's the Southeastern Conference who did not make the championship game. That's it. That's the list right there. Those are the two power conferences. Now, the smart money says if Michael Vick knows what he's doing, and that's on one side of the diagram. On the other side of the diagram, you've got the Virginia Tech football program, and if they start floundering along here, then there's a collision course where Michael Vick is ascending and Virginia Tech is descending, and then there's the point, the sweet spot where they meet, and then when they meet, that presents opportunity for Michael Vick to end up coaching his old school. That seems to be pointing that direction. If the Hokies do the hokey pokey and start winning, and that'll screw things up. Deion Sanders has not gotten the Florida State Seminole job, for example, although they have not exactly taken off there at Florida State.